What is happening in that? JGamer Dude here, and I'm going to be talking about digital preservation in relation to just how like your accounts, how long they last, and all of that sort of stuff. So first and foremost, I do want to start off with that if you get banned for doing something bad or something wrong, you absolutely do deserve to lose access to everything because you did something wrong. Okay, if you're harassing people online and you get banned for it, like your Xbox or your PSN account, then that's on you. But if you haven't accessed your account in some period of time, you shouldn't lose access to your stuff. And then in comes Ubisoft, pretty much, which has been sending out emails to people in the UK who haven't accessed their Ubisoft account in 6 months and telling them, you gotta log in, and if you don't, you're going to lose your account or we're gonna shut it down. Essentially rendering all of your purchases mute. And that's not a good thing, but the reason why I specifically mentioned UK is because of this tweet going around, and of course the fact check that is just below it. So the reason why I say it's UK is because of the added context, which is in relation to GDPR. So that is a privacy-based law whereby companies cannot keep data or information about customers for more than 6 months, which is why if you don't log in or you leave your account inactive for 6 months, they can't keep information or data for that long, and for legal reasons have to remove that data, delete the account, and that sort of stuff. But the thing is that other companies do it in such different ways, like with Steam and all of that, where they keep backups of your stuff in like the US or something like that, so that if you were to log in again, you could access your purchases at any time. So there are other ways that Ubisoft could be handling this that could be done a lot better. And while I say that for Ubisoft, I think it's also just a good idea to talk about this generally for all types of accounts. Not just Ubisoft accounts, but for like your EA Origin account that you had from ages ago that's now your EA account that you bought games on, your Steam account that you've bought games on, your PSN account that you've got hundreds of games on, or if you're an Xbox player and you've got a lot of games on your Xbox account. If you're able to purchase things digitally, and we are heading into more and more of a digital future as time goes on just because of convenience. If you buy a bunch of games and you don't access your, like, say you're a PlayStation player, you play a lot of PlayStation games, but then you move over to Xbox for like one generation, for like a few years, and then come back to the PlayStation the generation after. If you don't access your account for 2 years and you lose access to all of your PlayStation games, that's gonna suck. And the same thing on the Xbox side. If you're like an Xbox player, but then you jump over to PlayStation for like one generation, and a generation for a console is like 5 or 6 years at this point. So if you were to walk away for like 2 years, just as an example, and then you come back to your platform of choice, then you realize, oh, my account has been deleted, all of my games are gone, all of the money that I spent on all of this has been flushed down the drain, then that's gonna really, really suck. And when it comes to digital ownership, let's be completely honest, the idea of owning things digitally just doesn't exist. Instead, it's just we are borrowing the idea that we can play this game as much as we like for as long as our account exists. At any point, our account could be terminated. And the thing is, companies have the right to do that. They are allowed to delete everything that we have without telling us, without warning. And you might be thinking, well, that kind of seems kind of sucky. But the thing is, it's all in their terms and conditions. It's all in their private policies that they write up. It's in the stuff that we don't read when we sign up for things, that our accounts could be terminated at any time with or without warning. And all of the other stuff. So yeah, while the additional context of this Ubisoft specific example is given in relation to GDPR and all of that, it's still worth considering that like game preservation still is like, as if it wasn't bad enough that the stuff that was going on with like over 80% of games not being accessible pre-2010 by legal or normal means, and then in relation to Gundam Evolution, the game shutting down. online only games being completely inaccessible and unable to play, we now have this other thing that also then falls under the exact same idea, that even if we buy games digitally, they get delisted or removed, and then we lose our accounts in the process. Then what's the point in anything anymore? It's like licensed music and licensed cars. When it comes to racing games and GTA, those games that get re-released later on in the future are not going to be the same as what we played before. GTA, the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition are an excellent example of that, where the games look worse, the games play worse, and on top of that, the music is completely changed up because it's not going to have the same tracks as before. I don't think we can trust developers of the current day and age to be able to replicate what was good back then. And in order to be able to continue playing the stuff from back then, we need to keep the original hardware that we currently have. Like how I'm still playing on my PS3 right now with Star Ocean 4. When I jump into Fear 3, when I jump into... Crap, what's another game that I've got on this console? I've got a bunch. Like The Darkness 2, that's another example. It just... Yeah, I don't really know what more to say. Ubisoft are shooting themselves in the foot by not having a backup option, unlike other companies that do, because I don't believe we've heard of similar... Again, like the whole shutting down of other people's accounts is nothing new, and that's completely fair because we signed those terms and conditions, we signed those documents. It's just the people that are waving away the idea of having physical discs is what kind of grinds gears more than anything else. And that just kind of sucks. That's why I still have so many games physically. That's why I buy a lot of physical copy games. That's why I go on to like a bunch of sites that actually allow me to buy things from Yahoo Auction in Japan, or from Japanese stores if I wanted to get physical Japanese games. I go through eBay a lot. I go through the local our local version of eBay, which is called Trade Me as well. I go through goddamn Amazon and buy stuff used from there as well. You know, like, if you really, really want a game and you want it physically, like, get that stuff used, man, because the used market is also getting jacked up in price by an insane amount. And sometimes when you do go rare game hunting, or retro game hunting, you'll sometimes find great games at great prices. So I cannot recommend that enough. I feel like more people should be doing that. And yeah, like if you have any interest in retro games, if you've still got systems that are pre-2010, like I said, my PS3 that I've got my PS2 upstairs, I've got my original Xbox, my 360. I've still got my GBA lying around. Like I've still got my my original DS, so I can still play GBA and DS games on there. Like you've got options, man, and make use of that. And then there's some cool stuff like the Analog Pocket, which are they try to emulate the idea of having the actual console on you. And then you've got stuff like the backbone for your phone, so you can use you can download apps that are emulators for those specific consoles, and then just chuck on a backbone controller or another phone-based controller on there. Like you've got options on how to play a lot of different types of classic games if you don't have the original devices. And hell, you could even go out of your way and buy those original devices. So many third parties have created, like my Wii. Is currently using HDMI rather than AV because not a lot, like my TV doesn't use AV anymore. But the TVs that do still use AV, like I use that with my original Xbox, I use that with like my PS2. You know, you can still use those on certain TVs. And with like AV being phased out, like that kind of sucks as well. So I feel like I'm just going on and on about classic gaming, and I've given a bunch of suggestions if you're keen on jumping into that, if you're interested in that sort of thing. Like absolutely give that a try, give that a shot. I cannot stress that enough. I feel like that turned into a bit of a rant, but yeah, I suppose with all that said and done, like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't. Comment below on your thoughts about, you know, generally retro gaming. Do you retro game? How do you retro game? Like the stuff that I've mentioned. Your thoughts on like digital ownership through your accounts and things like that. This whole nonsense with GDPR, which of course is more legal ramifications. I understand that. But the thing is that there, you know, obvious exceptions do need to be made. But when laws are made, I feel like these exceptions aren't conceived particularly well or anything like that. And of course, subscribe to the channel. I'd like my videos to go out to more people, to be able to see these things and be able to talk about them and just kind of be able to share their thoughts as well. You know, bring more people into the fold, into the discussion, and all of the other good stuff. And with all that said and done, I'll see you guys next time.